Hi guys, welcome back to Dream Analytica. I want to talk today about why our dreams are so important. This is what my channel is about. It is called Dream Analytica for that reason. And started understanding the importance of dreams a little after I first found out about Carl Jung and studied typology, his four cognitive functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. And a little after that, I discovered Marie-Louise von Franz, which she was sort of his predecessor, and she spoke on the importance of dreams and really helped people understand how dream analysis works and why it is so important. And after that, I understood the secret to all of this. The secret to all of our psychology is the dreams. Our dreams. Dreams are the secret to our psychology. And it's so powerful because practically everyone dreams, has dreamt, or does dream. Everyone dreams. And if you understand dreams in terms of the psychological approach, they act as a compensatory function, or in some instances, a complementary function. But for the most part, they act as a compensatory function, meaning they balance out our psychology. So if we are behaving too much in some way during waking reality, our dreams compensate for that. Our unconscious compensates for our behavior. So if you're being passive, too shy in waking reality, your dreams might compensate that for you being more extroverted, being more engaging, more socializing. That is extremely important because it makes your life better. If you're too shy and you're not socializing, that's damaging to your health. Whereas if you are balanced and you do socialize, but you also have your alone time, then you start to live a more whole life. And that's what the dreams are about. It's helping us live a full life. So the more severe you are in terms of the imbalance, like if you are really behaving in such an imbalanced way in conscious reality, the more severe the dreams will be. And that's a very important concept to understand because just knowing that can help you regulate your own psychology. So if you are having really bad dreams, really terrible nightmares, then that immediately shows you there is a balancing going on. Because if you are having such very heavy nightmares, you are probably also behaving in such a heavy way in conscious reality, or you are repressing to such a great extent that in the dream world, it's compensating for that. So the more the repression, the more the compensation. That will help you. That is the role of the dream. It's a self-regulating mechanism. It helps regulate your conscious attitude with the unconscious attitude. And the unconscious is an entity you need to understand that exists within every human being's psychology. The unconscious in itself is an autonomous entity. It acts on its own, just as we do in consciousness. Our ego acts on its own accord with the instructions or guidance from the unconscious, sort of like a bigger figure within ourselves that is pulling the strings of our ego. You need to take direction from the unconscious, and you are only able to access that collaboration through, for the most part, through dreams. You're able to engage with your unconscious by understanding your dreams. Above that, above the compensatory function, dreams act as a guiding force as well. Because like I mentioned before, if you truly understand that the unconscious itself is a living entity within yourself, an autonomous living entity, something that is quite possibly of greater intelligence than you are, than the ego is, than I am, if I understand that there's this unconscious entity that is far more intelligent than I am, that can perceive things far better than I could ever imagine, that it's taking all of this information without my conscious realization, meaning it's probably catching sounds from outside or little nuances with my senses that I'm not focused on, as a matter of fact, and it's able to because we know consciousness and the unconscious is not confined by space and time, it's probably able to grasp all these pieces of information beyond our immediate time perception. This is huge. This is a huge understanding because it means that it is not bound by space and time. So if you understand that there's this autonomous entity that's able to expand beyond time and space, is able to go into the future and take pieces of information which we might call synchronicity or intuition, you understand that exists within you, then you start to appreciate that the way that intelligence communicates with you is through your dreams, and you can access that intelligence. You can access that, I don't want to call it a superpower, but a superpower within yourself. You're able to access that information if you understand your dreams. And that higher intelligence, that greater force that's within us, in the spiritual sense, a lot of people will call it God. And you have dreams about such an entity when you're asleep. You do have these experiences that you would never experience in waking reality. And a lot of what the religions show us, especially if you read the Bible to some extent. I have not read the Bible in full, and I'm not religious, but I have taken some pieces of it the same way I would interpret dreams. And once you understand how to interpret dreams, and you interpret the Bible the same way, you realize what they are talking about, what this God actually is. It's not out there, it's actually in here. And all these allegories and metaphors you could prescribe to your own dreams. It's absolutely incredible. So there's a spiritual connection between your dreams and your psychology. It's not just science alone, which is psychology, which is what psychology is trying to explain. Psychology is trying to explain the connection between that spiritual element and the scientific element. Why our brains are like this, why our minds, what is consciousness? And it's trying to bring it down to a more fundamental basis. And the connection to all of that, the one language we all speak, is through dreams, symbols. That is the original language. So it's just immensely powerful. And going back to how it's a guiding force, we understand that in connection to how it compensates for our conscious reality, sometimes if the compensation is necessary, or if the individual is going through such a terrible situation where he is or she is suffering an immense amount, then the dream or the unconscious, like I said, if it's a higher intelligence, will come in and swoop in to save that individual. Quite literally, like it will make that person do something they would have never have thought of. It will swoop in and save you from a situation if that person was immediately suffering. And also, to compensate for such a terrible feeling during conscious hours, it will compensate with a saving image, with a savior image. A lot of people see Jesus, the Virgin Mary, which I have experienced when I was going through my difficult time, to compensate. And again, I'm not religious, I'm not Christian, I was actually an atheist, and I was believing in science mostly. So the fact that an atheist, would see the Virgin Mary is telling. The image, it's not even about the image, it was about the feeling. The feeling I got, the feeling of support in that time, which I was experiencing. It was just a terrible time, very difficult, very terrible time. Like I don't ever want to go back to that time. But the image saved my life, like the image of the Virgin Mary, and I can tell you what the dream was here. It was completely white, a white expanse. There was no objects anywhere, just white, like heaven, if you want to call it that. And in the middle of this white expanse was a woman with a blue veil, sitting cross-legged with a baby in her arms. And I was just standing on her right side, so she was on my left, which is another clue of what this figure was. She was on my left-hand side. I was standing, so she was sitting. And there was a gold light emitting from her, and I just felt this warmth, this incredible amount of warmth in me at a time where I felt absolutely cold in conscious reality. So incredible. You don't need to interpret that to understand what it means. At least I don't, and it's my dream, so I don't really need to interpret it because I know what it means. It shows me that in my lack of belief, I was wrong. She does exist psychologically, spiritually. She does exist, and that's your connection to the spiritual. The Virgin Mary is the spiritual connection to God, and mainly is exactly what Jung described the anima. The anima is the mediator between the ego and the self being the totality, or God, if you want to call it that, in psychological terms. So she's the guiding factor that takes the man and introduces him to the self, or God, or the universe, totality. That's the guiding factor. You have access to that. Everyone does, and that's the most incredible part, because a lot of the psychological ailments we are experiencing today are being solved by these generalized approaches through medication, through counseling, through therapy, through which is, it may work to some extent, but what it proves now, especially today, if you look around, it doesn't seem to be working. And then they're trying to find all these alternative approaches, more holistic approaches, like taking microdosing on shrooms, or even ADHD medication, which to an extent, again, it works, but over a long period, a lot of people end up quitting it because it's so bad for their health. Taking shrooms, LSD, ayahuasca, trying to get that experience. By the way, ayahuasca is like a short circuit to the self. And a lot of, if you interpret their visions of when they are on ayahuasca, it's very similar to if you had a dream about that higher intelligence. It's powerful, trust me. So all you need to do is understand your dreams. And it's not that easy, but that's the secret. So you don't need all of those remedies, those counselings, those therapies. Your dreams will automatically solve your own problem, because they're your dreams. It'll show you directly where your problems are and where to adjust. Like I said, if you are having nightmares, the nightmares are going to show you exactly where you are behaving or acting imbalanced. And it's that imbalance that is causing the neurosis. And the neurosis is the thing these companies, these pharmaceutical companies, are trying to not cure, but to treat. So it's not a cure. But the dreams are trying to cure you, because you need to survive. And it needs to keep you balanced in order to survive. So the imbalances are being perpetuated or exacerbated by these generalized solutions, as a matter of fact. It's sort of like face wash or makeup. Like it doesn't want your skin to look good. There's no money in that. You could argue the same for the treatment of cancer. Like there's no profit in curing cancer, but there is profit in treating it. That's why this is so dangerous, this information, because you would not need a psychiatrist, you would not need a psychologist I'm sure there are a lot of them that want to do the right thing, sure, but there are a lot of them that are corrupt and that just want to get a paycheck and support their living. I'm sorry, but that's the fact. I'm an INTP, so I don't like I have a high sense of justice. Like I care very much about doing the right thing and doing justice and stuff like that. So I'm not going to mince my words, but there are a lot of psychologists nowadays that are not in the benefit of the patient. They are in the benefit of their own lifestyle. And it's terrible. And that's why there's no money in it for me. Like if I told you that your dreams can actually help your psychological situation, which is the demand is getting higher and higher for psychological solutions, because that's the only thing left, really. We have technology, we have medication, we have all these creature comforts, we have a shelter, we have food. The only thing left is, what is the point of all of this? It's the psychological, it's meaning. It's fundamentally, it's meaning. We don't understand meaning. And again, the dreams are going to offer you that. God is essentially a metaphor for meaning. If you understand your wholeness, you understand your meaning. There's no compensation required. There's no repression. So you understand your meaning, and you can access this through a long journey of analysis, of working on your dreams. In the beginning, the reason why people are quite hesitant to understand their dreams is because you've pretty much been indoctrinated to ignore your dreams. That everyone just brushes it off as unnecessary. But it is that very fact that shows you that it is probably the most important thing, the most psychologically healthy thing to do, because you've been indoctrinated to not focus on it. Because if you did, it'd be a lot of loss of profit for a lot of people, and they won't be happy with that. It's just incredible. Your own psychology is the solution to the very problem that it's creating. So if you just focus on your own dreams, if you do the work, write them down, if you understand the messages, you're going to be far better off. And you might not even need those medications anymore or those counseling sessions anymore. You don't need to pay anyone anymore because you're balanced. It's like taking accountability for your physical health. I see no difference in that. Why not take accountability for your psychological health instead of rely on someone to, it's like asking someone to work out for you. It doesn't make any sense. You can work out your own psychology on your own, and you can do it if you understand your dreams, and that's why it's so important. And the more we stray further and further away from our own solutions, our own dreams, our own psychology, the greater the compensation. Okay? That's again another important thing. You need to really hone in on if there's one message to understand, that there is going to be a compensation. So the more you ignore your dreams, the worse they're going to be. The worse they're going to be, the worse your conscious attitude is going to be. And then the cycle goes on and gets worse and worse and worse. And God knows what happens. Like these medications sort of suppress. I've received a lot of comments about medication. Again, I'm not going to go into depth about what medication, but like Wellbutrin or Adderall or some of these sleep medications, they actually make your sleep worse. And as a matter of fact, what's really interesting is people don't have any dreams when they're on these medications. Wellbutrin, there's something very powerful going on. Before I understood dreams, a lot of people went on Reddit to see what the side effects were. And one common pattern I saw amongst the side effects was nightmares. And I was like, okay. So I started taking Wellbutrin a couple of years ago, just to test it out to see if it would help. And I did find out that, yeah, there were a lot of terrible, very terrible dreams. So what that told me now, I don't take it anymore, is that there's a huge compensation going on. When you're taking Wellbutrin, it's probably suppressing something psychologically, not just chemically. It's doing something psychologically. And then the compensation occurs where you have terrible dreams. And sure, you might not feel depressed when you wake up in the morning, but something else is being pushed down. To me, it didn't seem like a good thing. So again, I'm not a scientist in that regard, but I can tell you from personal experience, something else was being compensated for the fact that you have no depression, and the dreams were showing that. So the dreams are so powerful, and I'm not going to say I've conquered depression or anything like that, but I can tell you that ever since focusing on my dreams, I don't really think about it anymore. Obviously, life is tough. There's some vicissitudes of life that you can't avoid, and that may cause me to feel like, yeah, a little bit sad or depressed, like if someone dies or if my animal dies or something like that. But I understand psychology to the point where there's like this foundation of support that, okay, it happened. And I guarantee you, if you want, think of it this way too. If you want better dreams, you just have to behave better. You have to behave more balanced. And people love good dreams. Name one person who doesn't love a good dream. People love good dreams. So if you want better dreams, you just have to behave better. How do you behave better? Well, listen to the dream that you have, and it'll tell you where you need to balance out. And once you're balanced out, you behave better. Therefore, ergo, you have better dreams. And having better dreams puts you in a better mood and gives you more hope about life, about the future. It gives you a spiritual connection to God, if you believe in God, or if you believe in the self, if you believe in Buddha, whatever. Your psychology will manifest whatever power, whatever image to associate that greater power with. For some, it's Jesus. For some, it's Buddha. For some, it's a mandala. For some, it's the universe, the world, a flower, a lotus, something of totality, a king or a queen. some very important figure in reality to show you that you're not alone and that there is a higher power guiding you, and it is speaking to you through your dreams. And to end this, Marie-Louise von Franz eloquently put, "Why haven't you answered your mail? God has been sending you messages. Why haven't you answered your mail?" And it's not verbatim, but that's the gist of the quote. It's, why aren't you answering your mail? And these are messages from God. And so you should probably at least take a look at one of the letters that God has sent you. And yeah, that's all I have. I really encourage you to look at your dreams and see where you're at. Again, in the beginning, they're not going to be that big because you've never looked at your dreams before. So the first few dreams might be about your daily life, about some relationship, about some like small imbalance that you're experiencing. But once you get past that level, once you get deeper into your own psychology, then you start getting bigger dreams, one about your life, and then even deeper dreams, one about your place in the collective, and then even deeper dreams where you have archetypal dreams, where your place is in your own mythology, in your own story, in the universe, where you fit in the universe and your position in it. It's absolutely incredible. Your dreams are the other half of your life that you're not living. So once you focus on the other half of your life, then you start living fully. And that is the goal of psychology, to become conscious, to become whole. Not to be perfect, to become whole, to be complete. So I really encourage you once more to focus on your dreams. And if you need assistance with it, that's what I'm here for. I would be more than happy to take a look at your dreams with you. You could reach out to me through my website. I also developed an app so that you don't need my help and that you could try and learn it yourself. And I think the app is very useful in that. It also has like 200 symbols. It also covers typology, which I didn't go over today, but typology is very connected to the analysis of dreams because your personality type, your shadow, your anima, they're reflected in your personality type or your cognitive functions. A quick example would be like, okay, if you're a thinking type, your inferior function would be feeling. Therefore, you could say your feeling type most likely would appear as your shadow or your anima slash animus, your opposite, internal opposite figure. That's a little deeper, but the dreams will help show you exactly what that is. So the app is there. I know it costs money, and I do want to, I have thought about different models for the pricing in terms of the app. And I really wanted it to be like a book which you own. I don't like the subscription model where, you know, you're paying like constantly. I wanted you to have it, to keep it as like a Bible or a book that you have forever. So I just wanted to be honest with it. And maybe some people think that, why is he charging for this app? It should be free. Yeah, but I do need to make a living, sure. But I also wanted to be as honest with it. I did put a lot of work into it too. So I think, yeah, that's my reasons for charging for the app. And it helps me. So you're really helping me as well. It's sort of a collaboration. I'm giving you a lot of information. I'm giving you this thing. There's no ads. There's no like in-app purchases or paywalls or whatnot. It's just like buying a book. Once you buy it, it's yours. But what's even better is I get to update it, so you get new information whenever you want. I just wanted to explain that in terms of the app. If you do want to reach out to me and learn more about this stuff too, I'll leave my website in the description below. I've received quite a few people that have reached out to me through my website too, so don't feel shy. You can share a dream publicly or privately through the website, or just send your contact info to me and I'll get back to you as soon as I get the message in my email. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, focus on your dreams, write them down. Just write them down. You don't have to analyze them, just write them down. And I think the very act of just writing them down will make you feel a million times better. We'll see. And if you have any concerns or questions about that dream, share it. Let's take a look and see if we could find anything. And one last thing I do want to add before I end this is the very first dream that you consciously decide to focus on, that very first dream is going to be probably one of the most important dreams that you're going to have, because it's an initiation dream. It's the very beginning. It will quite literally show you, and it's ubiquitous across all clients. It shows you the first step to a journey, like the Hobbit, Frodo Baggins leaving the Shire. It sort of shows you that imagery. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask them below. I know this is a big topic, and I'm so passionate about dreams because I really think it might be the secret answer we've all been looking for, but just have overlooked because it just seems so counterintuitive or just too simple, too obvious. But that may be where the truth lies, in its simplicity. It's just obvious. Like, we have dreams, there must be a function for the dreams, and Carl Jung found out, yep, the dreams are it. You don't need to focus on anything else. That you don't need to focus on history of trauma. You don't need to focus on even the neurosis or even the depression. Just look at the dreams, and the dreams will show you. His cure for depression was, he put it in a metaphor, or a person actually had this dream where a woman in black came into this person's house, and instead of shooing the woman away, the woman asked that woman in black to sit down and have some tea. And Jung explained that that's exactly how you should treat depression. Don't shoo her away. Let her come into your house, make her feel welcome, ask her, give her a cup of tea, and just ask what's wrong, and she'll tell you. And that's active imagination. That's incredible. And I've done that myself, and I've done it with family and friends too, and explained, well, depression is a sign. It's sort of a message that you need to hear. And once you hear it, you should be fine. So again, dreams are so powerful. Please just try to take a look at them, and you'll be surprised. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Thanks.